What we do is very simple. Our goal is to help serve our community, right? With also understanding that the items we take out of houses typically enter the waste stream. Our goal is to keep them on the waste stream. So we have veterans, right? The veteran idea of being vets that come out and serve in your houses, right? It's a level of professional we bring. But when we bring the items back to our warehouse, that's where I think the magic happens for us, at least. At the end of the day, I want to save the environment. And I'm not going to do it by sitting on the street corner and holding a sign. I'm not going to do it by going to Washington and being a lobbyist. That's just not how I do things. So being one that comes from growing up on a farm, understanding the value of items, and also understanding the value of hard work. So what we do a little bit different than most companies is when we load items up, we bring them back to our facility, we unload them by hand, and then we sort them. So all the items that we bring off of jobs end up going into, we hope, is the next best destination. We first look at what the item is, right? We try to reuse it as it sits, possibly repurpose it. If not, we recycle it. If we can't recycle it, we're gonna try to recover it. And there's a little bit different nuanced thing there. And finally, if we can't do that, we're gonna responsibly dispose of it. Because there's different ways to dispose of items to ensure that they don't end up in our drinking water, so they don't end up causing more hazardous issues in our environment. We hire veterans, we empower them, we put them back to work, and we serve our community. And we empower them by putting them in positions where they're going to be successful. Once they're successful, we go out into the community. We do junk removal, we do moving, and we also do demolition and deconstruction. When it comes to junk removal, it's all about taking the items out of people's houses, bringing them back to our facility, and hopefully getting them out of our facility, out of people's houses, without introducing them into the waste stream. When it comes to moving, we do moving, light hauling, we help stagers, really just logistics A to B. We're there just to supplement your move, as the muscle for you. And then when it comes to demolition and deconstruction, sometimes you have bathrooms or kitchens that just need a little bit more work. They need just a hauling hand, an expert when it comes to taking out drywall, lath, and plaster. So we do non-structural, non-mechanical demolition and deconstruction. And really any and all projects are interesting. There's projects that are too large for some smaller companies and too small for larger companies. So we like to get in where we fit in, I guess is the best. And with us, the adage, growing up on a farm, every job's a good job. My name is Andy Weins, and I'm a veteran entrepreneur. Along with my brother Isaac Weins, we own a J-Dog Junk Removal franchise here in Menominee Falls.
Well, first of all, I'd like to just thank you for inviting me in here.
Absolutely.
And, having this interview with you to share your story about J-Dog and where you came from and kind of a little bit about your story here on VetBiz TV for our first episode. So Andy, can you just tell me a little bit about, your, what was it like growing up? Where did you grow up? What was your family like?
Yeah, so I was born in Atlanta, but I grew up in Menominee Falls for the most part. Growing up, it was good. Obviously grew up in the suburbs, but our family wasn't very well off. My father has owned a business for 25 years, so we know what it's like to just get through each month. And my mom and dad, we're still very, very close. Our family's still very close. And now, the opportunity is we learn how to work from day one. So our nights and weekends were spent basically dumpster diving and working jobs for my dad. But that builds character, and now looking back at it, I learned a lot of lessons early on in life and in business that other people aren't fortunate enough to learn. And when I wanted something as a kid, I had to go and learn it. So I started working early. I worked at North Hills Country Club in Menominee Falls. I worked at a gas station right there in Menominee Falls. So growing up, and those lessons I learned then of what it takes to run a small business, I still apply to what I do today.
Sure. So your dad, was he kind of like a mentor for you growing up, or like an influencer in how you got started in business yourself?
Absolutely. So we grew up in a scrapyard. That's the best way to put it. My father's a third generation entrepreneur. We're fourth generation. So my great grandfather owned a scrapyard. My dad growing up on a farm, and me spending my weekends or my summers rather on a farm. I realized the value of everything. Everything has a value, whether it's twine or cardboard or sheet iron and scrap metal. So with that mentality and that mindset, we've always seen the value in everything that we surround ourselves with. And so my dad always, mentored us. He always talked about the stock market. And I don't think he's ever actually, invested $1 in the stock market, but sheet iron is the stock market, right? The goal, like anything else, is to buy low, sell high. Mm-hmm. And with sheet iron and with all your different types of precious metals, they go up and down. So understanding that, and then also understanding how that relates to business. You understand that what you have today might be of value tomorrow, or it might be nothing. And then thinking about the stock market, I was working for my father's company in 2008 as a remodeler when the market took a downturn, and I got laid off 2 days before Christmas. So I also understand that if you can get laid off from your father's company 2 days before Christmas, you can get laid off or jobs disappear just like that. And so it's a hard way to learn lessons, but lessons learned nonetheless.
Sure. So take me back a little bit. What was that decision like for you to join the military?
It was easy. I grew up watching the war movies. I wanted to be that kid that went out, and joined the Army and did great things for his country. And I started looking at the military shortly before 9/11, and then after 9/11, it really kind of put things in perspective, because I remember hearing from my uncle who was, he went into Vietnam, and he basically joined the Navy to avoid the draft. And then my dad never had to serve because he was a little bit older, or he was a little bit younger rather, than my uncle. And I always thought to myself, this is my time, this is my generation's war. If I don't join now, there's a chance that my brothers will have to involuntarily serve. And so I joined 14 years ago, been in the Army Reserve ever since. And I joined as a truck driver because I honestly wanted the fastest track to get to Iraq.
Sure.
When I joined in 2004, I said, hey, what's the fastest way I can get overseas? Cut it all out. And I joined as a truck driver, and I made it to Iraq pretty quick.
That's amazing. And from what you've told me before, you're still in.
Yep.
You're still serving. Right?
Yeah, so I'm an Army career counselor now. So I've taken all these years of knowledge. I went from being a truck driver to military police. I went from being a team leader to a squad leader to a platoon sergeant, and eventually an operations non-commissioned officer. And so I've taken all that experience, bundled it up, and now I'm a career counselor. On the flip side, being a veteran, I'm taking my VA benefits. I earned my bachelor's degree with my post 9/11 GI Bill. I bought my first house with a VA home loan. So I've taken advantage of those benefits. I still have TRICARE. My daughter's still kind of earning her TRICARE. So now when soldiers come to me and they say, hey, this is where I'm in my career, and I want next, I want more, I want something else out of the Army Reserve, I can really help and shape and mold them and help them understand. On the flip side, being an employer and a boss, I also see the challenges that reservists face, because a lot of employers don't understand what it means to be an Army reservist. They don't understand that servitude of the 1 week a month, 2 weeks a year is the poster says, but we all know it's more than that. So now as an employer employing reservists and National Guard soldiers, I can understand and appreciate the challenges they face, and I build employment around their service to the country.
Sure. So what kind of advice would you have for somebody who's in that transition stage of the military, that they're either getting out in the next 12 to 18 months, or they're already out, or they've been out for a while and they just can't find traction? What kind of advice would you have for a person like that?
Well, it's interesting you use the word transition. I was listening to a speaker a couple months ago, and he'd been out for 18 years, and he said, I'm still transitioning, right? And I thought that was interesting. I never thought about it that way. Because you're right, we think of transition as, after deployment, after active duty. Those first, 3 to 6 months, I'm transitioning. Well, no, I've been back from Iraq for 10 years, and came back from another deployment about 2.5 years ago, and I'm always transitioning, right? We are different than we were when we left. And so we're always transitioning. The best advice I can give anybody transitioning, if you want to call it that, is look at all the opportunities and don't take no for an answer. The challenge is when we go from the military to this big scary place we call the civilian world, no one here speaks our language, right? Or maybe not no one, but most people don't speak our language. They don't have the same culture we have. They don't know how to read a military resume. They don't understand military transcripts. So military personnel a lot of times settle for jobs because their resume does not show all the soft skills that they bring, right? Your hard skill might be a machine gunner, right? That doesn't translate well in the civilian world. But your soft skill might be problem solving, might be leadership, might be physical fitness, right? And those soft skills can be reapplied anywhere. And also the ability to learn. In the military, we're constantly going to schools. We're constantly being mentored by other leaders. So that ability to learn and give back does not translate well on resumes. So don't go out and just settle for that job because a company says, we'll hire you because you're military. There's more to that. Get what you deserve. What was your MLS?
I was a 3521 logistics mechanic.
So you're mechanic to insurance, right?
Exactly.
Well, logistics, problem solving, right? Being resilient, understanding how to work within the box, but also think outside the box to be creative with solutions, right?
Sure.
The average employer doesn't see that, and it's not a fault of theirs,
Yep.
right? We speak in acronyms and we speak in jargon that the average civilian doesn't understand. We even use the term civilian.
Yep.
Most people wouldn't refer to themselves as civilians, and it's not a knock. It's just right. There's military type and civilian.
Exactly.
So understanding that, right? Don't settle just because your resume says one thing. And I think that's the challenge. I found it myself. I was constantly looking for jobs and seeking fulfillment. I got pigeonholed into these jobs where, oh, you were a truck driver, therefore you must only know logistics. And it's like, well, yeah, I do know logistics, but there's more to it.
Great point. What's one thing that you could say that you took from your military experience that's helped you in business?
Really, just the problem solving. You know, I can talk about the hard skills of being a truck driver, right? I can drive a truck and trailer. I can train soldiers that drive truck and trailer. But you learn that the mission will always come first, and you don't quit, right? You never accept defeat. You never leave a fallen comrade. And those are our warrior ethos we talk about, but it's more to it than that.
Sure.
Recently, I've had some struggles with a few personnel, and it's easy to fire somebody. That's very easy, right? But that's not our charge. Our charge is to hire people and inspire them. And as we know in the military, a lot of times you get assigned people that might not be your first choice. So how do you get the best out of them, right? And how do you push them to get the best out of themselves? Because it's easy just to say, that's not my guy, I'm going to move on. In the civilian world, people get fired every day. In the military, you get what you get, and when you go overseas, that's it, right? In war, you don't take the army you want, you take the army you got, and you make it work. And so that skill of saying, you know what, we are continually developing our leaders. When I was overseas, I look back at it, I was not the best soldier. I was stubborn and I was difficult, and thankfully I had a great leader. I had a great squad leader. I still talk to this day, 10 years later, and he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. He never gave up on me. So that's probably the greatest skill I've taken from the military, where I surround myself with people and I push them and I push them, right? And the expectation is they also push me to be a better leader.
Sure.
Right? They challenge me and charge me with being the best leader I can be. In the civilian world, a lot of times, you punch out after 5 o'clock, and that's it. With my guys, they all know we have an open door policy. You call me morning, noon, and night, I'll pick up, I'll encourage you, I'll motivate you, I'll mentor you, and we will move forward together.
That's awesome. So how did you come up, how did you find J-Dog, and why did it make sense for you and to have a franchise, to build your business off of?
I had a great leader. Right, if you look at my story, I surround myself with great leaders, right? There's no self-made men or women. We're all surround ourselves with good people that come into our lives. And I had a professor, as I was finishing my degree program at Cardinal Stritch, I had a professor, Dr. Russell, in my final class, and we had to write a paper, 40-page capstone paper to solve a business problem. My brother and I wanted to launch a drug removal business. We had an LLC, we had an EIN, we had insurance, but now how do we go out there? And we didn't want to be just Andy and Isaac's junk removal. We wanted to be something more than that, but neither one of us are involved in marketing. And so when I was explaining this to my professor and writing this paper, he said, what have you not considered? And of course I was like, I've considered everything. I got all the answers, right? And he said, well, what's something you would never do? I said, I would never franchise. He said, well, why would you never franchise? I would never franchise because I don't want someone else to get rich off of my back, right? I come from a long life of entrepreneurs, and I don't want someone making money from me. I don't want someone taking advantage of me. And he said, well, explore that, look into that. So I looked at all the junk removal franchises, and J-Dog stood out, right? First off, obviously, because the franchises are exclusively offered to military vets. So that was an obvious play there. That was an obvious way to explore a little bit deeper. The other thing is, and this is unique in the franchise world, J-Dog has fixed royalties, right? And so what that means is most franchise systems, you make revenue and you have to pay a royalty based on a percentage of that. And as you grow, sometimes that percentage goes down, but it's always a percentage of revenue. There's very few franchises that have a fixed royalty. And what I liked about that is with J-Dog, it doesn't matter if I make $1 or $10, right? I pay a fixed royalty every month. So from a business standpoint, it's good because you have a fixed cost, you understand it, it tiers out over time, it kind of grows with your business. But from a purely personal standpoint, I know that I'm going to work hard and I'm going to get what I deserve. Right? I understand everyone has to make money. I understand that it costs money to do business. But if I'm more successful, that doesn't mean that I should have to pay more. Right? And when I brought that up to J-Dog, saying that was the selling point, they had always looked at it that same way. They looked at it like, no, we're trying to put veterans to work. Yes, we have costs associated with it, but it's not about making money off the veterans. It's about allowing veterans to work and coming together. And so those are the two reasons. Now, once I met J-Dog and got involved, it was a slam dunk. It was a no-brainer. We're very involved with the corporate office, and it's allowed us to now grow and scale our business, not just here in Milwaukee, but across the Midwest.
That's great, man. With all that being said, what was kind of your aim, your target, personally, once you got into J-Dog, like what was kind of your vision? What did you envision?
Very simple. I'm gonna haul junk, drive sweet trucks, and eat burritos. That's it. Really? My brother and I from day one said, let's just go and do this. We just had a convention recently, and we sat down with a couple of the people we met at first, and he's like, remember you and your brother said you could live off of this dollar amount? And I said, yeah. I said, I can still live off of that dollar amount. He said, well, you've had all this success. I'm like, so what? Right? I just want to go out and haul junk with my brother. I want to build a business. If you would have asked me, well, a year ago, I looked at my projections. I said, this is what we're going to do in revenue. This is the employees I want. So what? I blew it out of the water. Why limit myself? We scaled from one employee. We had one part-time employee less than 2 years ago, and now we have over 35 employees. It's because all we do is go back to those core things, right? Every day we're going to do two things, right? We're going to empower veterans, and we're going to serve our community. If we do that, all that other stuff works itself out.
Sure.
So what I want out of it, I want to surround myself with vets and bridge the gap between the veteran community and the civilian world. That's it. And if we do that by hauling junk, I live a very good and successful life.
That's awesome, man. Not many people can say that,
Yeah.
put that on their resume. But part of the aim, execute, advance, the slogan of VetBiz TV.
Yeah.
Kind of how can you explain a little bit of how you execute your plans? When you went into J-Dog franchise, they obviously give you a plan.
Yeah,
But you got to execute on it.
absolutely.
So can you explain a little bit and what that process was like, putting that all together and executing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with your aim execute, right, it's pretty simple. Aim, we're going to go out and just serve the community. That's it, right? And if we serve the community and we communicate effectively and we're kind to our customers, that's our goal. We're at the execution phase. This is where the rubber meets the road, as we talk about in the motor transportation core. Really going out and doing those things you say you're going to do. When I talk about leaders, I have to be the best leader I can be every day. I have to continue to push myself and challenge myself and push those around me. I also have to empower people. So if I empower my employees, I take care of my employees, right? They will in turn take care of the customers. That's the execution phase. And what I mean by taking care of them, doing everything, all the big things, right? Making sure they have, vehicles and trucks and trailers and everything is safe and everything is up to par, right? Getting them that training and coaching and mentoring. But the third piece is what else, right? In our building here, we have a whole area of our building dedicated just to, we call it our MWR. We know in the military it's Rural Welfare and Recreation. And up there we have a pool table and air hockey and just a place for the guys to be guys, right? And enjoy each other's company. Every Thursday morning we bring in coffee and donuts and have a 20-minute meeting. It's just a business discussion, right? Every day my guys know they can call me, whether it's personal or professional. I had an employee call me a couple months ago. He said, hey, do you have a few minutes to talk? I said, yeah, what's going on? He goes, I want to buy a house someday. And I want to know what I need to do right now to make my credit score right. I was like, okay. So we sat down for 45 minutes and talked about credit score and about signing leases and renting versus buying. And most employers don't do that. And I look at myself as an employer. I'm not a boss. I'm a leader, right? I'm a leader of men and women. And whether that's executing junk removal or just being someone in the community that people can trust.
Sure.
Right? That's the execute phase. That's the easiest part of what we do. It's just being a good person, being that person you want to be, right? The saying, the world, be the change that you want to see in the world. Well, I want good leaders in the world, so I first need to be a good leader.
That's amazing. Because you can see a lot of that in what you guys do, not just in yourself, but your team as well. Can you explain a little bit about the advancing portion? Because I've seen, I've only known you for 2 months, but like when I see what you guys are doing here, this brand new facility, 27,000 square feet, is that right?
Yeah.
And what you guys are doing within this organization and how your team, every one of them is a leader. You can just see it in everything that they do.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it's helping you grow and how you're taking all these different things on, because you're expanding in new territories as well.
Yeah, I mean, the advanced part is the byproduct, right? You don't wake up someday and say, I'm going to be successful. That's not a thing. That's not an actual item. You can't wake up and just be. You have to do. That's why when I talked briefly there, it's all about the execution, right? The advance is the byproduct. But then once you get where you think you're going, well, then you gotta go back to the aim. The execute and the advance.
Sure.
Just because you've got somewhere doesn't mean that's an end state. Doesn't mean that you've made it, right? You have to look at advance as a new starting line, not a finish line. And so even on our building, we had 2 weeks ago, we had one of our employees, one of our newer employees, 19-year-old kid, entry-level employee, he came into my office, he said, hey, we have to have a meeting. I said, okay, about what? He goes, well, the employees want to sit down and get a good understanding of what direction we're going in the company. I said, okay, then call a meeting. He's like, I can do that? I was like, call a meeting. He's like, well, are you going to be there? I said, talk to operations, put it on my schedule, and we'll be there. He called the meeting for 6 o'clock on a Friday night, and we had 100% attendance from every employee. Everyone was there. We started the meeting at about 6:15 with pizza, obviously, pizza and wings. You got to take care of each other. The meeting got over at 9:30 on a Friday night. There's not too many companies out there, right, where guys get together at 6 o'clock on a Friday night and stay till 9:30. Well, there was a lot of stuff we had to talk about, right?
Sure.
And it was somewhere between a family reunion and a corporate meeting, surrounded with pizza and chicken wings, and like, that's the good stuff, right? And that's the advance.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about junk removal, right? Junk removal is merely a discipline. But again, what we're doing is taking young men and women and transitioning them into leaders. And sometimes to be a good leader, you first have to be a good follower. So if an entry-level employee can walk into my office, tell me he's calling a meeting, and tell me I have to be there, I can't be anything but ecstatic.
Sure.
Right? He's taking that leadership role on.
That's awesome.
And we all advance. We all lead, because when someone else leads, when someone else rises up, right, we rise together.
Sure.
It's not one of those situations where you find so often where people want to rise up and everyone else, oh no, don't do that, don't think that way. That's not the way we do things. I don't know how we do things. Every day we're pushing ourselves. Every day we try to do things a little bit better. And so it doesn't matter if it's from the entry-level employee or the CEO. Everybody can be a leader in the organization.
Sure. What's one thing that you'd like our viewers to know about JDog, your mission and kind of what you have going on right now within your company?
Just know that we're out there in the community. Know that we're trying to serve. Know that we are hiring veterans. There's a lot of groups out there that take care of vets. There's no doubt, and we appreciate all of them. I've come back twice now from deployments and gotten taken care of. There's a lot of organizations like the USO and even at the VA and different groups that have helped me. A lot of times with veteran advocacy groups and veteran groups, they help the veterans that are really in need. Right? We help our veterans that are struggling with PTSD. We help our veterans that are struggling with substance abuse. We help our veterans that have physical and emotional or mental limitations because of war, right? That represents a very small part of our veterans. Most of our veterans that come home just want to have more in this world, right? They desire to be better than they were when they left. They want to be empowered. And a lot of times those veterans get lost in society. They come back, they're good physically, mentally, to return to work and return their normal lives, but they're still missing something.
Sure.
So what we do here at JDog is take those individuals and we help excel them in their personal and professional lives. Our job at JDog is simple. We empower veterans through entrepreneurship so they can serve their community as they serve their country with respect, integrity, and trust. And that mission statement says everything of what we do.
That's amazing. And you can check out JDog. How can the viewers follow you or check you guys out?
You can find us locally. We can be found just on jdogjunkremoval.com. You can call our number. You can hear it ring in the background there. 414-828-JDog. We're located here in Menominee Falls. We serve all of southeastern Wisconsin. And just check us out on the web. Go on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn and Twitter and all that stuff. But really just try to understand what we're doing, and the jump will happen. right? But understand that our mission is to empower vets and serve our community.
Awesome. I want to thank you for your time today,
Appreciate
Andy,
it.
and definitely got a gift for you since
Thank
you're
you.
our first episode here.
And we'll take it.
But appreciate being on the show today.
Aim, execute, advance. You know, I talk about business, and I talk about, you know, everything in business is threes, right? I'm a simple man, right? Always threes. So when I saw you guys just looking at aim, execute, advance, I'm like, I like that. I get it, right? Have a plan, execute the plan, and then this is the other thing on the equal sign, right? That's where you go.
Yep.
Love it.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate your
Thank
time,
you
man.
again for being on the show, man.
Absolutely, thanks.
Thank you for watching this episode of Vet Biz TV. Our goal is to share, empower, and teach fellow veterans that may be transitioning from the military to the civilian world, who are looking to become entrepreneurs, find the career that fits their skills and long-term goals, or just connect with fellow veterans in business and life. Every veteran has a different story to tell, and not every one of those stories relate to you, but we want to share the stories of successful veteran business owners, executives in companies, and life in general that are making a difference, and how you can too. If you've enjoyed this episode of Vet Biz TV, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because without you, none of this would even be possible, and we appreciate you for that. We'll see you in the next episode.